Good afternoon, everyone. This is Brenda Rogers from Quintessence Women's Health. And I have with me a wonderful lady called Holly Davis, who I'm going to introduce in just a moment. And we're collaborating for an event in a couple of weeks on the 5th of May, actually. And I'm very excited to be working with Holly to bring to you some great information on nutrition and whole foods. Now, Holly is well known in the Australian whole food industry. She's the author of 2 books, Nourish and Ferment, and she's also the co-founder of the IKU Whole Foods chain. Would you call it a chain, Holly?
No, I wouldn't, but I guess that is, it's not exactly a chain, but yeah, I started it back in 1985.
Wow, there's a few of them anyway.
Were you born?
Most definitely, I was born. So, Holly, will you, for the benefit of our listeners who don't know you, will you give us a little introduction of yourself?
Hello. How do you do? I'm Holly, obviously. I was born in England in time for breakfast. Haven't missed a meal since. So I call myself foodie first. My interest is in eating delicious food and perhaps a little more of it than is said to be good for us, but I like the good stuff. So I've been a whole food chef since I was about 21. And I got interested in whole foods and in macrobiotic philosophy when I was about 14. So I've always been odd, considered quite strange. I came to Sydney in 1982 and I set up IKU as a macrobiotic eat-in takeaway business, and with the idea that it would probably fail. Like, you know, who was going to want that in 1985? But actually, people did want it, and I think people are attracted to what's wholesome and good, and that was a growing trend, and I have watched that, and it's amazing where it's gone now. So I've always been, since I was 14, I've been a fermenter of foods, and that's part of a macrobiotic diet or macrobiotic way of eating. And I've been odd all my life until fairly recently, and now it's something that everybody wants to know about. And so I've written a book about fermentation, and it was a book I'd like to have written when I wrote the first book 20 years before that. So I put a couple of things in the first book that were fermented, and the publisher said to me, no one is going to be interested in that. And then a publisher came to me and asked me to write a book about fermentation 20 years later. So I'm very happy with that. Does that tell you enough about me?
Yeah, fantastic. It leads me on to my next question. But first of all, let me say that you're in good company being odd. There's a bit of a following of people like you in my world as well. And but I'd like you just to briefly explain, what do you mean by whole foods? What is that exactly?
I think, there's that sort of Michael Pollan talks about eat food that your grandmother would recognize, eat food, when we eat, there are foods that are compatible with our bodies, foods that our body knows, things that are traditional and that we've been eating as long as there have been humans. And then we've got a lot of novel foods that they're things that are edible, but they're edible food-like substances rather than food. And I think that it's not complicated. That's not complicated. If you go and stand where food is on offer, you will, no matter what your age or where you are or who you are, you will be able to identify what's food and what's not. A whole food is a food that is as close to its natural form as possible, with nothing added to it, and as little as possible taken away from it to make it the most nutritious, digestible and delicious as as possible. So there are things. Oh, that was a bug. I'm in nature here at Palm Beach. I just had a caterpillar crawl on me. So it's close to nature. It probably came off something that I put in the bowl just before. Like that, things that creatures would like to be consuming. If you're eating things that that an animal wouldn't want to know about, it's not food. So if margarine, for instance, were part of your diet, that's something that no critter will go anywhere near, which is quite amazing. Like some experiment was done years ago where they put butter on a dish and put margarine on a dish and left it for a year, and in a year's time the butter had, paw prints and most of it had gone, whereas the margarine was untouched, it was dusty. And I think that says everything you need to know, really. Don't eat that stuff, it's not food.
And I know that at our event coming up on the 5th of May, that you're going to talk a lot more about that topic and how to guide us on choosing the right things, and not just choosing the right things, but how to prepare them in a way that is going to make them delicious. So thank you for your time, Holly. Everyone, if you're interested in coming along to this event, please either check out a link below or a link nearby, or you'll also find us on Eventbrite. Just Google or search Holly Davis and you'll find our event. It was going to be live in person, but due to what's going on at the moment, we're now doing it as a Zoom meeting. And so everyone from all around Australia is welcome to attend. So thank you so much, Holly, and thank you, everyone.
Look forward to seeing you all then.